The more available you make yourself, the less anyone values you. That's not an opinion. It's a law of economics, and it's quietly running your entire life. Think about it. The person who answers every text within seconds, who says yes to every request, who is always reachable, always helpful, always there. You'd think all that availability would make people appreciate them more. It does the opposite. They get taken for granted, overlooked, and underpaid. While the person who is harder to reach, slower to respond, and selective about their time is treated like they matter. Same skills, same value, completely different treatment, and the only variable that changed was scarcity. This isn't motivation. Nobody's going to tell you to set boundaries and leave it there. This is something a man understood 2,300 years ago. A man so coldly precise about power that historians call him the Chinese Machiavelli. Except he came 1,500 years before Machiavelli was born. His name was Han Fei. He taught rulers that the moment you become fully available and fully known, you become fully controllable. And what he understood, married to a simple economic law, explains why your accessibility is silently destroying your worth. By the end of this, you're going to see every yes, every instant reply, every moment of being endlessly available as what it actually is. A quiet withdrawal from the account of your own value. Let's start with the economics because it's brutally simple. Value follows scarcity. Water is essential to life and nearly free because it's abundant. Diamonds are useless to survival and priceless because they're rare. The worth of anything is not set by how good it is. It's set by how scarce it is relative to how much people want it. This is the single most important idea in economics, and almost no one applies it to themselves, because you are also subject to this law. Your time, your attention, your energy, your skill. These are goods in a market. And when you flood the market with them, when you make them infinitely available to anyone who asks, you crash your own price. You become the water, essential, used constantly, and valued at almost nothing. The person who rations their time, who is not always available, who makes people wait, they've made themselves the diamond. Not because they're better, because they're scarce. Now, here's where Han Fei enters, because he understood the power side of this centuries before economists put numbers on it. He taught that the wise ruler never makes himself fully available or fully knowable. He stays slightly hidden, slightly out of reach, because the moment his ministers can access him freely and predict him completely, they stop respecting him and start managing him. Familiarity to Han Fei was the death of authority. The ruler who is always present, always reacting, always available, becomes ordinary in his subjects' eyes, and you cannot be both ordinary and powerful. Distance created mystique. Mystique created respect, and respect was power. Apply that to your own life, and it stings. The colleague who is always available for every meeting, every favor, every last-minute ask, becomes the office utility, used constantly, promoted never. The friend who always picks up, always says yes, always rearranges their life for others, becomes the one whose time no one protects, because they signaled it wasn't worth protecting. You teach people what your time is worth by how freely you give it away. And most people are running a permanent fire sale on themselves. Pause for a second and ask yourself honestly, in the relationships and situations where you feel least valued, are you also the most available, the most accommodating, the quickest to respond, the least likely to say no? Sit with that. One word. Hold it, because for most people, the places they feel most taken for granted are exactly the places they made themselves most abundant. Now watch how this operates in the real economy, because the pattern is everywhere. Luxury brands understand scarcity better than anyone. A famous French luxury house could sell 10 times more handbags than it does. It deliberately produces fewer than the market wants, destroys unsold inventory rather than discount it, and makes customers wait months on a list. That artificial scarcity is not a flaw in their business. It is the business. The waiting list is the product. If they made the bags freely available, the price and the desire would collapse overnight. They are selling scarcity wrapped in leather. Consider the most sought-after consultants, lawyers, and specialists. The ones who command the highest fees are rarely the most available. They have waiting lists. They're booked out. They can't take your call until next month. And that unavailability doesn't weaken their business. It is their business. The difficulty of reaching them is precisely what signals their value. Meanwhile, the freelancer who responds, "I'm available anytime," has just told the market that their time has no competing demand, which the market reads, correctly, as low value. Even in hiring, economists have a term for this: the candidate who appears to have other offers, who isn't desperate, who is harder to get, commands a higher salary, not because they're more skilled than the eager applicant, but because scarcity signals value and desperation signals the opposite. The person who needs the job least is offered the most to take it. This is not fair. It's not about merit. It's about the cold mechanics of supply and demand operating on human beings. So what do you actually do with this? Han Fei's answer, translated into modern terms, is this: stop flooding the market with yourself. Become deliberately less available, and watch your perceived value climb without changing your actual skills at all. The first move is response time. The person who replies to everything instantly has trained everyone that they're always waiting, always on call, always low priority enough to interrupt, simply not being instantly reachable. Letting some space exist between the request and your response signals that you have a life, demands, other things competing for your attention. That space is scarcity, and scarcity is respect. The second move is the selective no. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're printing more of your own currency and devaluing it. The person who says no to most things makes their yes valuable. A yes that costs nothing to obtain is worth nothing. A yes that had to be earned is treasured. You want your time, your help, your presence to be a yes that people worked for, because only then do they value it. The third move is the deepest, and it's pure Han Fei. Don't be fully knowable. The person who shares everything, explains everything, is transparent about everything, has nothing left that's rare. A little mystery, a little held back, a little unavailability of the self. This is not manipulation. It's the recognition that total accessibility of your time and of your inner world floods the market and crashes the price. Now, I want to be clear, because this gets twisted into something ugly. This is not about playing games, being cold to people you love, or manufacturing fake unavailability to seem important. That's the desperate version, and people see through it. The point is not to perform scarcity. It's to actually build a life so full of your own demands, your own priorities, your own worth, that your availability is genuinely limited, because your time is genuinely valuable to you first. Scarcity that comes from real self-respect is magnetic. Scarcity that's faked to impress is transparent and sad. Value yourself and the market follows. Perform value you don't feel and everyone can tell. Here's the quiet truth underneath all of it. The world does not assign you value and then treat you accordingly. It reads the value you assign yourself through your availability, your boundaries, your scarcity, and then agrees with you. The person who treats their own time as precious teaches everyone else to. The person who gives themselves away teaches everyone else that they're free. You are, at every moment, setting your own price. Most people set it at almost nothing and then wonder why the world takes them at their word. So let's go back to where we started. You, endlessly available, endlessly accommodating, and quietly wondering why none of it seems to earn you the respect you expected. It was never going to. Availability doesn't buy respect, it forfeits it. The economics were working against you the entire time, and no amount of being helpful, reachable, and accommodating could overcome a price you yourself had crashed. But the same law that worked against you works for you the moment you turn it around. Become scarce, become selective, become slightly out of reach, and watch the same people who took you for granted begin to lean in. So don't think about how to be more available, more helpful, more there for everyone who asks. Think about who you're becoming, not the abundant resource everyone uses and no one values. The scarce one, the diamond, whose time, attention, and presence people finally understand they have to earn. And here's the thing, Han Fei was one of an entire generation of Chinese minds who understood how value, power, and human nature actually work, long before the West put equations to it. We're decoding every one of them, one mind at a time. If this showed you even one place where you've been flooding the market with yourself, then you already understand why most people will keep giving themselves away and calling it kindness, while quietly resenting a world that took them at their price. A few will make themselves rare instead. Decide which one you are.